Okay, well, my last video I talked about the loss of innocence in children, and because I thought it was being really stupid, some of the things I've been hearing about the government wanting to regulate certain things. In a way, I understand regulating certain things because, we're losing our kids slowly. But recently, I'm getting this feeling like we can't really do much about it. And my example for this is I know about a weekend or so ago, right? My brother has a younger friend that's the son of one of my parents' friends. And this kid's probably in elementary school, something like that. And we were just all minding our own business. And this kid, when he was younger, was the sweetest kid I ever met. Very polite, very grateful, everything. But when he came over, suddenly, because maybe a couple years passed since I'd last seen him, he was no longer grateful. In fact, he was a bit of a slob. He made mess left and right, aggravated me to no end. I mean, I was seriously running after these kids, yelling at them for everything they kept doing. And okay, some of you people know the game Gears 4, which I don't have a problem with that, because if that's your thing, go for it. But my brother has this game and the second game, and they were playing the game. My brother's friend, and this other kid was sort of watching, tag teaming it occasionally, which was fine. I had no problem with that. But when I realized that this game was being a little overly violent, I let it go because I knew how boys can be. But then I reached this point where I realized that the game was also swearing a lot, which, my family swears a lot, so I don't have a problem with it. My brother swears a lot, I don't care. But this little kid, who was probably in elementary school, was swearing right along with it. And I was very disturbed by that. That this kid who was whatever was swearing. And I told my brother that if I caught him swearing again, this little kid swearing, that I would make him change the game. Because there's no way we were going to get blamed for this kid picking up something. And it's not so much that the kid was swearing, it's just the fact that this kid was so young, and he had been such a mild-mannered, good kid to begin with, and in a few years, suddenly he's swearing, playing games he shouldn't be playing, because apparently they said he picked it up from another game, not them, which I don't care either way. Who, picked up what? It doesn't matter. The point is it shouldn't have been happening. And it just disturbed me that this young kid was already swearing, was playing games he shouldn't have been playing, and his mother is nice as can be, so I kind of have to wonder whether she even knows that this is going on, whether she is even aware that her child is acting like that. And it's very kind of upsetting. I mean, I once looked after another kid a couple years ago. I was looking after another kid for, like a sort of like a vacation sort of thing, you know what I mean? And I was looking after this little kid, and he was so antisocial, getting in trouble. I mean, he was literally swearing up a storm, and he was barely 5, if that. And it's another one of those things where you're just sort of like, gee, how did we get this point as people that suddenly, whether we realize it or not, our kids are acting like that? So what are we doing that is influencing them to act like that? How is this okay? And, I know we all try. Plenty of people try. I mean, seriously, whenever I have kids, I plan on trying. But the fact that it's reached this point that it's something that I'm seeing and I'm noticing, and I'm kind of like, it's kind of sad. It really is. I just sort of wonder whether there's any hope of salvaging anything for them. And considering that people from my generation acted the way that they did, and then you see these kids already, as young as they are, acting about the same way but at a younger age, I mean, depending on whenever I have my kids, they're doomed. Unless I mean, you know, if I were, I don't know, I guess they basically will be doomed, which I don't want to think about, but it's a possibility. So, I mean, I just wish I could think of some way to reverse this, but there's really no way unless people take that initiative. I mean, there's being overprotective. Overprotective is bad, okay? You don't want your kids getting into shit they shouldn't be getting into, but you should also have a level of trust with them. Like, I had a friend, actually I've had a couple of friends, that they, you know, maybe they, when I was younger, when they were like maybe teenagers or middle schoolers, their parents did not trust them. Their parents would flip out if they didn't hear them constantly. Their parents would basically saddle them with an insane amount of responsibility to keep them down. I mean, it wasn't like, oh, I'm teaching you to be responsible and to be nice. It's, I'm making sure you do it so that you are brought down to, you are doing what I tell you to do in my house. It's not like I want you to learn to be a good person. It's, you're going to do it because I said so, you know? And that's not really right, but I can't necessarily do anything about it. But it was a little frustrating that their families could be like that, because it meant that they didn't trust them hanging out with me or them hanging out with other people, and these girls would have to fight just to hang out with other people and have friends. You know, they always had something or other suddenly come up because, you know, and I mean, I will admit myself, I can be very frustrated with my mother because she will do things that are not common courtesy. I'm grateful that my parents trust me. They trust me, they leave me alone most of the time, but it doesn't mean that they always are the most courteous people. So I'm just saying that, you know, it's really hard to figure out this balance, and I wish I could figure it out and help other people to figure it out. And it's just sort of frustrating that I can't reverse this pattern that seems to be happening, and everyone just seems to, you know, say they care but nothing's really changing yet, or there are people that don't even care, you know, just they or whatever, who cares, you know. But it's sort of like, okay, well, what do we do, you know? I wish I knew. And it's just, I don't know. I mean, there's a balance. There's being there, looking after your kids, and being a responsible parent, which, you know, I've seen a couple people be less than responsible. I mean, seriously, less than responsible. There's, you know, I'm actually totally disgusted with the parents. I've been to a few teen dances up at my camp, and there are parents that leave their 5-year-old kids there while there are teenage girls bumping and grinding to songs about sex. And it's sort of like, gee, you really shouldn't leave your kids here and then just expect everyone to babysit them. That's not cool. So thankfully they're taking steps to get that no longer an issue, but yeah, you know, there are certain parents that are really like aware of the stimuli that their kids are getting. I don't know. Like I said, I want to help the parents that get it, and I want to help to understand it so that whenever I have kids I can deal with it properly, but at the same time, it's like there are certain people that you can tell don't care or aren't even thinking about it. You know, they're totally unaware, they're not checking stuff, and then they're wondering why their kids are acting like that, because that's where they're learning it from. They're learning it from hanging out with people they're not supposed to be hanging out with. They're learning it from stuff that maybe is not age appropriate, and, you know, parents should double check these things before they get them. You know, it's going to suck and the kid's not going to like it, but it's, you know, it's meant to help them in the long run. I mean, it's just, it's sad. Imagination and unique intelligence, fun, independent people are slowly sort of dying out because they're just sort of stuck in how they're brought up or how they think. They don't think for themselves, or they don't, I don't know, they're just too caught up, I guess. I guess that's just food for thought. I don't know. Well, by the way, I'm going to be going to community college in the fall and doing all that other fun stuff, so I may not be on here as much anymore. Okay, bye people.